Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. We've got a ton of news to break down today. Ben Simmons, California Dreamin'. We'll talk a little bit about that and the news that he's interested in going to potentially three of the California teams. Who gets left out in the cold? The Suns looking for a trade. We've got a lot of different things to break down around the NBA. But first, quick reminder, subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. We are on our march towards 10,000 subscribers. Help us get there. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications as well. Keith, we're about 1 month away from training camp. A little bit less than that. I'm getting a little bit shaky at this point. Like on one hand, it feels like, yeah, that's not that far. Only 4 more weeks. And on the other hand, it feels like, oh my gosh, 4 more weeks till NBA basketball. I don't know if I can do this.
What happens first? Do we unravel the Bishop Sycamore saga, or is Ben Simmons traded? There we go. Yeah, there it is. There's your choice. Either or choice for you today.
I think the Bishop Sycamore thing. I think Ben Simmons does get traded to like the day before the season starts just to mess with everybody.
There we go. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, Morey does sometimes take trades down to the wire. That's what he did when he was acquiring Harden.
Yep.
The original time when he got him to Houston. So, yeah, it's yeah, man. 4 weeks from today, training camp's open. I went and looked today because it's September 28th, league wide, with nobody playing international games this year or anything like that. There, everybody opens on the same day. Sounds like media day, week, or whatever it will be, will kick off on the 27th, and then yeah, camp's the next day. So it's gonna be on us before I know it. I tweeted today. It feels like it is both way too close and way too far away.
100%. Absolutely. That's what it definitely feels like. And there's still a lot of things left to happen in the NBA between now and then. Ben Simmons being one of them. Shams Charania mentioned quite a bit about that in his recent piece for The Athletic. Ben Simmons still wants out, and now we're hearing he might not even report to the 76ers. Like, imagine if it gets to that. I mean, obviously that's kind of a scare tactic to try and get the 76ers just pull the trigger right now and not have to deal with that whole situation. But imagine if we get to that point. Media day comes and there's no Ben Simmons. That's disastrous.
100%, because it's going to be every guy who comes out is going to get asked, what do you think about Ben not being here? And that's just going to be a mess. And that's a team that didn't make a lot of change this off season. So it's all the same guys coming back, same coach coming back, same front office coming back. So if they're all there talking, they're all going to be asked about Ben Simmons. So you're really kind of starting the year with a distraction right off the bat. And that's not what you want. So my guess is this gets done within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I have no reporting on that, no intel at all, just a gut feeling that this gets done within the next 2 weeks, just so that it's done and it's finished and everybody can move on and be ready for a fresh start to the season. Where? Who the heck knows? Sounds like he's got his eyes on 3 California teams. We can guess maybe the Sacramento Kings are the one California team that is left out of the running with that one. Poor Kings.
Poor Sacramento.
Once again. But you know what's funny though? I wouldn't fully rule it out because they have been mentioned in the past as maybe a Simmons destination. I think there could be interesting workable combos there for both sides if that was going to happen. But the challenge now is, we're basically done. Rosters are more or less built. Teams. I know we're going to talk about the Lakers in a minute here, filling out their last couple roster spots. But that's what's happening now. It's you're kind of, if you're even sitting on those couple roster spots, you're filling them out, and then it's camp signings, and that's where you're moving on to. So that makes this, in effect, for all purposes, a regular season trade. And when you're trading a number that's that big, that gets a little hard because you don't have that full flexibility to do 4 and 5 for 1 deals and those kind of things. Now you get a little bit more because you can still carry up to 20 guys right now. But yeah, it'll be kind of fun to see where this goes and follow these rumors like it has been. So we don't have a ton of news to report on it. Nothing new, but yeah, it sounds like he's 100% out and doesn't want to be there.
Well, I think the interesting part here, that maybe the somewhat new piece to this, is not only does he want California, he wants one of 3 California teams, not one of them he does not want at all, one of the 4 California teams. So 3 California teams he wants, and then that he's potentially willing to no-show to not show up if this
Yeah.
doesn't get done. So he's doing what he can to put pressure on the organization to get this thing done. I will say it from Ben Simmons' perspective, I think of course he would like to be a Laker. That's the team that he grew up following and all that. But if this was coming from the Sixers side, I would think the one California team that he would not go to would be the Lakers, because they don't really have anything they can trade. There's no way to make that work. The other three teams, to varying degrees, have some kind of a path towards Ben Simmons, whereas the Lakers simply don't. So I don't know. Like if Sacramento is in the mix, maybe the Lakers are the team that's being left out because they just don't really have a path to get there.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it and not me, so no one's going to jump on me for anti-Laker bias here. But really, I mean, I say this a lot. It's just math.
Yeah.
They just don't. They right. It's not going to be LeBron or AD. They can't trade Westbrook in a trade like. I mean, I guess they could trade him straight up for Simmons. That would be absolutely hilarious, but it's clearly not going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that leaves you down to even piling together a bunch of contracts is not possible for them right now. So it's not going to be the Lakers, at least not now. If we were trade deadline, maybe then something could happen and they could make it workable. But yeah, that's not going to happen. Clippers is even pretty difficult too for them to get there. Warriors, that one's easier if for no other reason than Andrew Wiggins is almost a straight salary match, and then the Warriors would have to plus to even that out from there. That would be kind of a fun fit for Simmons in a lot of ways, I think, because I think if Klay Thompson is Klay Thompson, you've got more than enough shooting on that team to offset what Simmons does. And man, that defense with him and Draymond together,
it'd be good.
That's tough. And then the Kings, I mean, they can get there again with relative ease with some of their guys. So I think we're in a position where, I mean, this could happen, but the two LA teams, which is probably where he'd like to be most, it's really hard to see the path to get there. And then we also got to consider from the Philly side, they're under no obligation to do anything he wants.
No.
They should 100% take the best deal they can get and move along and go from there.
Yeah, so it would be a mistake to assume that Ben Simmons is going to California just because he wants to go to California. That's definitely not something that has to happen here. And the reason why, just to make sure everybody fully understands this, the reason why we're saying, look, the Lakers don't have a path to get there, the Clippers, right? Any player that signed a contract this offseason, they are not trade eligible as of right now. Most of them won't be trade eligible until December, some January. So that's why we're saying that they don't really have the contracts to stack up to go get a guy like that, is that they have so many players that are simply not trade eligible. We're not specifically saying that their pieces aren't valuable enough or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and you got to get to 33 million, or within that range. You got to get to roughly 27 million or so to get there, to be in that range to make that happen. And that's tough when you're talking where we're at. That's just a big number to me. And then beyond that, it's kind of weird. I forget he's only a year into that contract extension. He signed that max extension. So including this season, $146.7 million he's owed over the next 4 years. Now, if you can be the right team and figure it out, 100% worth it. I continue to maintain he's the most versatile defender in the entire NBA. And I will believe that until he's not. But it is very, very interesting to see where this will go with him. But and then I know we wanted to talk the Lakers. Moving on, filling out the bench with we can call him our friend Rajon Rondo.
That's right. A mutual friend, Rajon Rondo.
Yeah. Even if he's in the wrong colors right now, that's okay. But coming back on a minimum deal, gave up the exact amount that will make him whole with his buyout from the Grizzlies. So he's on the Grizzlies books for about 4.8 million. And then he's going to get 2.6 or so from the Lakers in actual salary, only count for 1.7 on the cap. And I thought it was interesting when he said today, I'm paraphrasing here, but something like, we didn't get to have our parade. And I want to, solve that this time around. So that's kind of cool. And I honestly think he fills a real need for the team. I think Westbrook is, even if Westbrook is great for them, He's not going to play more than probably 65 games on the high end, would be my guess, just because they're not going to allow it. They're going to make sure they keep him healthy. And I don't know that Kendrick Nunn and Talon Horton Tucker being kind of then your primary ball handling guys in the backcourt is really enough to cut it. So I think throwing Rondo back in the mix there is really solid work. And then Rondo can kind of do what he does and just kind of chill and do his thing for 70 games or so in the regular season, and then show up in the playoffs like he's done for the last several years.
Playoff Rondo rides again. Yeah, that's exactly it, Keith. And when you look at this from Rondo's perspective, he lost $0 and he goes from being a Grizzly to being a Laker. Not bad, right? So that works out certainly.
All without even a trip to Memphis.
That's right. He didn't even have to show up. And now he gets to be a Laker. So it certainly works out well for him. The Grizzlies save some money, so that works out for them. And then the Lakers, they land a piece that they could certainly use. Right now, I think Rondo will be a nice fit. Coach Frank Vogel was talking about how, or at least Rondo talked about how Vogel told him that he had missed his voice in the locker room. And so that's something that's significant too. Off the court, Rondo should provide a bit of value there. And this is also a little bit of an answer here to the big question that have been swirling around the Lakers. What are they doing? Why are they not signing anybody to these roster spots? Because they were waiting to see if anybody would pop free, if anybody would get bought out. And that's exactly what happened. That's why they didn't sign Isaiah Thomas or Tim Frazier, Darren Collison. They were waiting to see what happens with Rajon Rondo. He did get bought out, and so they jumped on that opportunity.
And Rondo's better than any of those guys. I mean, he's not the Rondo he was, even 5 years ago, but he's still better than any of those guys for what they need, right? They just need somebody who can come in and run the offense for 10, 15 minutes a night in the regular season, and Rondo can do that. And then a little bit of reporting, kind of piecing together reports. The Nets, I believe it was Shams Charania who reported, but others have had it as well. I think Alex, I might below this, but I think it's either Schiffer or Schiffler from The Athletic, who covers the Nets, had reported. Sounds like they're going to buy out DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
If you had been paying attention, and this is one where this fits, one of my favorite phrases that I love using with guys like this, more name than game.
Yeah.
DeAndre Jordan is not what he was. It's just he can't move anymore the way he used to move. I thought you were drinking like milk out of the cart, like school
it
milk.
Looks like it. No, this is BioSteel. This is the new sports drink of the Lakers.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
So you got to drink. I'm drinking the sports drink of everybody, Propel.
Oh, nice.
From Gatorade. Yeah. So yeah, because everyone cares about that. But yeah, DeAndre Jordan's he can't move defensively anymore the way he needs to. Offensively, he's always been just kind of a lob threat, play around the basket kind of guy. He doesn't even do that particularly well anymore. He was out of the Nets rotation almost the whole second half of last season. They had gone to Nick Claxton and then various small ball options. And then when Blake Griffin got there, he really didn't play unless it was one of those nights where everyone was sitting for Brooklyn down the stretch, and then had no impact in the playoffs at all. And some people are saying, don't they need him for Joel Embiid? I mean, I guess, but it's not like he's stopping Joel Embiid. No. But it's sounding like he could resurface back in LA with the Lakers potentially. And I guess I mean, I don't know how you feel about this one. I'm sure you've covered it in depth over on Lakers Nation, but he's not better. I don't know that he's better than Marc Gasol at this point, and I don't think he's better than even this version of Dwight Howard at this point. So I guess if you want him as your third big, well, why not? It's certainly not going to hurt anything. And between the three veteran guys and whatever minutes AD plays at the 5, you're going to be fine for 48 minutes, but I don't know. I mean, again, it'd be a minimum deal, so they'd be able to move off it if they had to with relative ease. But yeah, this one I just kind of, I'm like the shrug emoji guy.
Yeah, so DeAndre Jordan, like if you look at the Nets defensive rating with him on the floor versus off, he's known as this great defensive player. They were better defensively without him. Like it is what it is, right? He can still protect the rim a little bit, still did a nice job, just being a negative just vulture there at the rim, right? He's this guy that is able to negatively impact opponents' field goal percentage at the basket. So he can still do that. but he's not that mobile. From the Lakers side, Jake Fisher, Bleacher Report, threw them out there as a team to maybe watch in connection with him. We've speculated maybe that means Marc Gasol could be on his way out. Mark Stein had mentioned that before, that Gasol could be on his way out the door, and the Lakers could end up replacing him. Maybe DeAndre Jordan comes in to do that. But I don't even know if you want to do that. Like you said, is DeAndre Jordan really better than Marc Gasol? Plus, you're giving yourself a different skill set if you stick with Gasol as opposed to going to Jordan, because you've got that three-point shooting ability that Gasol offers. I don't know if they bring him in as a third center when all we've heard is about AD playing more minutes at the 5. So they had this last year, right? They had it last year. They had Andre Drummond, Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, and what wound up happening was at least one player was upset every night, right? Because there weren't enough minutes. So I don't see them doing that again. If they bring him in, it's probably in place of Marc Gasol, and it's not a clear cut, yes, that is the move you make. That's an upgrade. I don't think that's what DeAndre Jordan is anymore. But like you said, minimum deal, that's a no risk basically, and you can move on very quickly if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically the same as Dwight Howard as far as skill set at this point, but worse is how I look at it. So I don't see the need to add another Dwight Howard to the mix when you already have Dwight Howard. And as much as Gasol struggled, he at least gives you somebody you can run a little bit of offense through if you need to, because of his passing. You can still do that. I know he shot really poorly, but it's, unless that's completely gone, which that would be a little weird. Guys don't usually lose their shot that quick, especially big men. You can at least do a little bit of that. And the reality is you're talking for Gasol, I think there's still a world where he starts, but is out 5 minutes into each half. And then you don't see him again. And then the rest of the half is Dwight and AD minutes mixing at the 5. I would rather see them get like a 4-5 kind of guy, like if he was willing to play for the minimum, like a Millsap. That would make a lot more sense for them. Somebody who could back up AD, but also slide over and play the 5 at times. Because I know they're saying AD is going to play the 5 more, and I believe that, but how much he did. One, he hates doing it. He doesn't like playing the 5, and you're putting a lot on him. I mean, even in today's NBA, if you're asking him to play the 5 for even 10 to 20 minutes a game, that's a lot, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. That's a lot of body banging and those kind of things. And I just wouldn't want to expose him to that in the regular season. It's just not worth it. It's not, that I guess that allows you to get better total like lineups on the floor with him at the 5, of course. But yeah, that should be save that for the last 2 minutes of the first half, last 5 minutes of the second half kind of thing, and go. I mean, even the Warriors, as much as everybody talks about the death lineups and all those things, Draymond, it was always a 5-minute per half kind of thing. And then in the playoffs, of course, then you step it up and do what you got to do. But that's, probably more time on DeAndre Jordan than we probably should have spent.
Well, agreed. But you know what? I mean, I think you're right, though. I think the Lakers will be selective with Anthony Davis. We'll see where that goes from there. But you know what? We talked about Rajon Rondo, who is becoming, or has become already, a Laker again. DeAndre Jordan might become a Laker, whether or not that's a good idea. The other guy, though, that I was hoping would return to the Lakers, did not. Went to the Toronto Raptors. Svi Mykhailiuk, my guy. Two-year deal, though. Happy for him. Glad to see him get a 2-year deal with the Toronto Raptors. Guy that can shoot a bit from outside. Pretty feisty on the defensive end of the floor. Weird thing about him, though, actually has a negative wingspan. We always talk about wingspan, right? Talk about these guys like Taylor Horton-Tucker, right? 6'4" with a 7'1" wingspan. How crazy is that? Svi Mykhailiuk is 6'7" with a 6'6" wingspan. But I think he can still get it done, so we'll see what he can do up in Toronto.
Yeah, like Toronto's bringing in a bunch of guys to kind of say, hey, we're going to do a competition here on the wing. So another former Laker, Isak Bonga, is there
That's
now
right.
as well. Then they have Sam Decker. People may remember that name, blast from the past a little bit. He's there. And then they added Ishmael Wainwright, a guy who had played in the Basketball Africa League. So we know Masai Ujiri's connections there. Brought him over. They've still got Yuta Watanabe, who they like as well. Freddie Gillespie's another guy that they brought in. Dylan O'Banton, who they drafted in the first round or second round rather, is going to be there. So they're just going to kind of, I think, run an open competition, here in training camp and say, all right, let's figure it out, fellas. And, whoever wins, the best man wins, and off we go. Because all these guys got varying levels of guaranteed money to come in. And if you're Toronto, why not? You don't have so many locked in things beyond your top, let's call it 7 or 8 guys. You might as well just kind of flow through a bunch of guys toward the back end of the roster and see if somebody sticks or pops.
Yeah, exactly. Look, they've got time through training camp to see what happens, and well, to put it one way, they're gonna wait and see.
I love it.
That's why I wanted him on the Lakers. Come on.
You missed the other day.
It's all the Svi
The one you missed the other day. You made up for it.
That's right. Got to make up for it there. Aaron Gordon looking for an extension with the Denver Nuggets, and it sounds like that's probably going to happen. The Nuggets would like to extend him. Obviously, they gave up quite a bit to get him in that deal with the Orlando Magic. Thought he was a really nice fit there in Denver, and they were playing extremely well until the unfortunate injury to Jamal Murray. So hopefully that's something that does get done for them and for Aaron Gordon. I think he's found a new home there in Denver.
Yeah, I think so. And then what they re-signed Will Barton this offseason, but it's only a 2-year deal. So my guess is what you're looking at there is get Gordon locked up, get Michael Porter Jr. signed to an extension. I'm going to push something here real quick for Spot Track. It just published today. It was I wrote about the 2018 draft class and their extension possibilities. As we know, Luka and Trae Young and some of the star guys have signed, but even some of the lower guys in the draft class, Robert Williams signed his extension. But I went through all 30 first-round picks and gave a status update of where they're at. Have they signed? And if they haven't, I made a prediction for if they might sign an extension. And for Michael Porter Jr., I think he might get 4 years, $100 million from the Nuggets, with potential incentives, kind of like what Boston did with Jaylen Brown, where if you play really well and the team does really well, that could bump up to a full max for him. They did this with Nikola Jokic in the past, where he did not get the full max, but then his contract bumped up to the full max as he met various conditions in it. So I think that may be what they look to do with Porter. And then you're really looking at them locking in long-term to Jokic, Murray, Porter, Gordon, and then Barton will be there, and they'll kind of float that position, right, I guess, over the next couple of years to find somebody who really sticks in there and fits really well. And the good thing with Jamal Murray is he's got enough size. You can always move him off the ball and play a traditional point guard next to him if you wanted to run Monty Morris or Facundo Campazzo more or something like that. So I think they'll get this done with Gordon, and then they'll be kind of locked into this core group for the next few seasons.
And it's a strong group. I don't think they should have any hesitation to lock in this group here. I think that will keep them near the top of the Western Conference for the foreseeable future. And depending on how things go from there, they could find themselves as the team coming out of the West if everything works out the way they'd like it to. We've got Paul Millsap still out there on the market. And Former Nugget, yeah, that's right. And the teams that are interested, the Chicago Bulls are in the mix, along with the Warriors, the Nets, and the Clippers. So 3 teams really that aren't a surprise there. The Clippers, the Nets, the Warriors, and then the Chicago Bulls trying to get in here. Now, Millsap, you're looking for 2 things. You're looking for a team that can give you maybe a little bit more than the veteran minimum. That's going to be hard to find, but then you're also looking for minutes. You're looking for a team that can give you an opportunity to play and have a role. So where he's going to wind up just yet, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen, but clearly he's got suitors and he's going to take his time and figure things out from there. Maybe he just waits until training camp ends and then signs, and that way he gets to miss it.
Yeah, and we've said that on the past few shows. That could be the approach he takes. And oddly enough, of that group, the Warriors, surprisingly, are the only team that can offer more than the minimum. All the other 3, that's all that they have to offer. But the Warriors may be the messiest path to playing time, just because they've got kind of a full roster as it stands. But Millsap comes in. He's probably an upgrade over Kevon Looney at this point, and could come in as kind of the backup 4 or 5 to Green and James Wiseman, assuming Wiseman recovers the starting spot again for Golden State. So we'll see, if that's where that goes with him. But yeah, and I think the Bulls' interest makes a lot of sense because that team just still needs some depth. They're kind of, interestingly enough, a lot like the Lakers were before the Rondo signing, still sitting on 3 open roster spots. They also have one of their two-way spot, or I guess they have two open roster spots and the two-way spot
Right.
open. So they're kind of right where the Lakers are now, and just kind of interesting. The two teams that made a lot of roster changeover this year are, two on the later end of filling things out. But the Lakers did good work early. Now the Bulls got to do some catch up here to fill out the bench, and that's we'll see where that goes. I expect that to kind of be something Arturas Karnisovich plays with all year, of just kind of maybe seeing who pops and who doesn't fit, and then you could use Jones Jr.'s contract as something to go get you other depth. Maybe they really do say, well, Kobe White's good, but not going to be here because we've got Ball. We're going to retain Levine, things like that. So.
Makes sense. And again, that's something that I think is going to even trickle into the season. The Bulls are going to continue tinkering because remember, they're all in. They're all in on making the playoffs this year. Yep. And that means I think they're going to be pretty active on the trade front in order to make whatever tweaks they need to in order to get to that point. We'll see if they can get it done. Speaking of making tweaks, the Phoenix Suns were among the contending teams that have hit up the San Antonio Spurs about getting Thaddeus Young, who they got in that deal. So that, I mean, look, this is, I think, a pretty good fit for the Suns if they can get him, particularly with Dario Saric out due to injury. He injured his knee in the playoffs. I think he'd be a nice fit for them. Nice, switchable on defense, gives you that kind of versatility. He'd be a nice get. I don't know what they would do to get there to get him $14 million expiring contract, but would be a nice fit for them.
That's the hard part is getting there for them, because it would have to involve Dario Saric, almost guaranteed. Would have to be. And this comes up a lot. I think this is because of 2K. I don't think allows you to trade injured players. So people all the time say, it can't be traded because he's injured. Like, I'll get that on Twitter. I'm like, that's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
Like that's a video game thing. Maybe you do Dario Saric and Jalen Smith. Together that gets you there. You could get there other ways. You could do Saric and Abdel Nader and maybe one other small contract or something. But yeah, I think great fit for the Suns if they could get that Young. I think he would be do really well for them off their bench. They're also a team, I'm surprised they haven't been mentioned, but they should be on the Millsap Derby because I think they play a ton there. And let me double check to make sure this is right. Yeah, they still have 4.5 million left of their MLE, and they're 14.7 million clear of the tax apron, so they're fine on that. So you could use that full MLE, kick that to Millsap, and just go. You'd hard cap yourself, but you'd still be 10 million short of the hard cap, and that's more than enough room to work. So that's just I'll continue to beat that drum until Millsap signs somewhere else.
If I'm the Suns, I'd rather pursue the Thad Young option though before turning to Millsap. Too. But sure. if push comes to shove, yeah, you can certainly do that. Remember, Thad Young wound up with the Spurs in the DeMar DeRozan trade. So that's what ultimately got him there. A couple interesting things about the Grizzlies. The Blazers had interest at some point in acquiring Dillon Brooks, and this is not the first time that Brooks' name has come up. A little bit surprising. I mean, he seems like he's such a key piece to the Grizzlies, and yet his name has popped up a few times this offseason as maybe somebody who is attainable.
Yeah, and I know he played at Oregon. I'm looking up something right here to see if he's actually from there or not. But I know he played at Oregon, so that could have been part of the idea, is bring a kid home.
Sure.
And bring him up there. Let's see. He's actually a Canadian kid. I don't think I knew that.
Now that you said the light bulb went off. I went, that's right.
Yeah, but now I'm thinking he was with Team Canada at some point, I think. But yeah, so we'll see. If that what often happens now and then at the trade deadline and then into the next offseason is you see the groundwork is laid for potential trades that happen. The most famous example of this is when Mike Conley got traded to Utah. There was all those rumors that the prior year at the trade deadline that the Jazz were really close to a Mike Conley trade. Yeah. And what it is, it's just, again, that big salary that's really hard to work. But this could be one where keep an eye on Memphis. If Damian Lillard goes to another team, maybe Memphis is used as the third team to help deliver the right value to Portland or something like that. So just something to file away. Nothing clearly going to happen right now. Brooks will be on the Grizzlies, but something to keep in mind. Yeah. Guy won't be on the Grizzlies. Juancho Hernan Gomez. Sounds like he's going to be waived. Much like Rajon Rondo, they haven't even required him to report or go through a physical. Now, part of that is he might have failed the physical because if you remember, he's dealing with a shoulder injury that was suffered with the Spanish national team. And then he was traded, but it sounds like he's not going to be a part of that team, and that Memphis team, they've still got some cuts to make to get into roster compliance. So it sounds like he's going to be one of them, and they'll eat some money this year, just like they did with Rondo, but fully non-guaranteed contract next year. So Memphis continues to kind of make these moves. And I guess because it spun off Patrick Beverly and they got Jarrett Culver.
They traded Eric Bledsoe for Jarrett Culver.
Eric Bledsoe. Yeah.
Essentially.
It's kind of okay. I mean, sure. Why not?
Now, with Hernan Gomez, didn't the Wolves tell him they didn't want him participating in the Olympics with Spain? And so he had to sit out, and then, so he was hurt anyway. And I think they were worried about aggravation of the injury or something. And then they wound up trading him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's thrilled.
Good summer.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure he's real psyched about it. And then the Wolves, I mean, we keep hearing D'Angelo Russell mentioned in the Simmons trade rumors and those kind of things. And I just wonder, that's Karl Anthony Towns' buddy there. How are we doing right by players up there in Minnesota? Or are we kind of starting to get a little bit into a messy situation? It's something that's kind of rattling around in the back of my mind.
The Kings North, aka the Wolves, they have some weird methods up there, but we'll have to wait and see what actually happens with the Minnesota
are catching strays today.
Yes, they are. Sorry, Sacramento. Sorry, not really, but we're a little sorry.
Wow. Wow, you won that series. You don't have to be angry towards them.
Oh no, I'm not. I have no ill will towards Sacramento at all. It's funny the way they make some head scratching moves. For some reason they're carrying all the centers on their roster. I don't get it, but I do hope that they can get some success in Sacramento and finally move on and get back into the playoffs. I would like to see that happen for them. So let me put that out in the universe and kind of balance out our Sacramento ill will that we put out earlier in the show.
No. Your Sacramento.
My second, yes.
Not mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm being nice to my Kings fan friends. I jokingly said that they should do a Colin Sexton for Marvin Bagley trade after the Markkanen trade, just because then the Cavs could have even more bigs and the Kings could have even more point guards. Why not? Let's go nuts. You got to be 6'4" or under or 7 foot or over to play for the Kings.
I like that. It's a good combo. Yeah. I think it'll definitely work. You've got the Twin Towers meets small ball. What can go wrong? Nothing.
Just throw it up high.
That's right.
Hope the big guys catch it.
That's right. All right, everybody. Give us your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let us know what you think about Ben Simmons, his ultimate landing spot, everything else going on in the world of the NBA. Paul Millsap, where's he going to wind up? Everything else that we talked about today. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And of course, don't forget, subscribe right here. We're making that push to 10,000 subscribers. Turn on those notifications. And of course, like this episode as well. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and see ya.